Count it all joy, Charles is back online. The Equally Yoked Show. Get yoked for free. Count it all joy, Charles is back online. The Equally Yoked Show. Get yoked for free. Count it all joy, Charles is back online. The Equally Yoked Show. Get yoked for free. Count it all joy, Charles is.
Welcome back to the podcast. This is the Equally Yoked Show. I'm so glad you are back yet again for another episode as we go through some of the crazy news stories of the day, or really just the start of this week. Honestly, this has been some crazy news that has been coming through the pipeline. We're going to look at everything that is concerning the Democrat Party and where they sort of are beginning to align and create their message surrounding really the same talking points. Now, we're going to be getting into the podcast in just a moment as you guys begin to join into the live show. I want to know where you guys are watching from. And of course, I want to know your thoughts concerning all of this. Email us here at freedom@equallyyokedshow.com. Guys that are just joining us and joining in, welcome to the show. If this is your first time, glad that you are here as we begin to unpack some of the crazy news stories of this day. Dead Man Lives, welcome to the podcast. Love that you are always here, always one of the first to join in on the chat. I'm so glad you're here. It seems like it's just going to be me and you covering all these stories because I'm not sure if YouTube's pushing this out, but it's okay. It's okay. There's some stuff that we got to cover over here, and I'm glad you are here, and hopefully you're doing well, man. It's just me and you. We can have a little bit of a personal one-on-one, a tete-a-tete conversation, if we will. How are you doing, man? How's life going for you? How's work going for you? And how's everything going on with you? It seems like we're getting people joining in on the show. We're going to be covering over some stuff when it comes to. Let's do it. Glad you're in it, man. Appreciate it, brother. Now, look, the left continues to try and persuade voters. I think I want to say that they think that maybe Americans are dumb. and they're not going to listen or really pay attention to the words that they're saying, the words that they say indeed are dangerous. Because their words, in a sense, have more action than others. We've seen what has happened with Charlie Kirk. We have seen what has happened recently with Tim Pool speaking out against Candace Owens, and probably various other reasons as to why he was recently attacked, rather an attempted assassination on Tim Pool, and with them shooting up his studio. But you're right. It's reverse psychology. And so we have the Democrats who are using the same rhetoric. But my question is, how does anyone buy into it? Colin, Alred, like Zoran, Jasmine, and many others are using the same talking points. This is the clip that you're going to see just right up on screen for you right now, where we're going to play two clips here. He's basically going to say President Donald Trump is ripping the Constitution to shreds. He's ignoring it, not following rules, not following the law. But wait, this was what they were doing during COVID, during the last 4 years under the Biden administration, and quite frankly, under any Democrat policy. Here we go.
Donald Trump is every day, shredding the Constitution when folks are struggling and they're scared out there. To me, dividing up the party in that way was not something that was going to be useful. And I thought I had a responsibility to be the one to say this is not the road that we should go down.
Now, him, like many other Democrats who have announced their race, many Senate races that are taking place, like also Jasmine Crockett, who announced her race. We have many others in Texas, other Texas candidates, Democrat primary candidates. And this is really where their party's at. And this is the best they have to say. Now, look, I'd say let's just let them continue using those same talking points, and hopefully, it just continues to make the show really how unintelligent they are, that they don't really know how to make an argument, that when they're put on a podcast, that they begin to quickly fall apart very easily, very fast. So this is also interesting. So I'm going to play this next clip for you. And it's really going to show you that, again, they continue to use the same talking points. And Enrico, you say, basically he's saying, I don't agree with what he's doing, so it's against the Constitution. And people do believe it. They fall for the lie. And it's unfortunate. But here's this other clip. Let me play it for you now. And look, go watch this whole podcast if you want. It's terrible. You'll see exactly the same points that Jasmine is using, that Ilhan Omar is using, and many others that come on this chat to really talk bad about the administration, which is fine. You can have criticism, but bring some intelligent disagreements. Here we go.
We need strong voices in the Congress to stand up to Trump, to speak about what's going on, for folks who are struggling with an affordability crisis all around our state, to deal with the rampant corruption that I think is eating away at the faith people have in our institutions. So
let me stop right there, because he's already wrong. We shouldn't have faith in these institutions, and even more so under Biden during COVID, during all of the nonsense that we saw with which we're going to get into what Trump is doing with these farmers, with the weird stuff going on. Look, we don't even have to go into that. With the chickens and the cows dropping dead. Some strange stuff that happened. But we should not be putting our faith in government institutions. But the likes of Zoran Mamdani, the likes of Colin Allred, who really want people to put their faith in institutions like government, when that was never even the case. According to our Constitution, according to our founding fathers. Look, get this little pocket Constitution guide, or not even a guide, it's actually the Constitution. Get it, read it. Read it for yourself. Because I'm going to say probably pretty confidently here that people like Colin, people like Jasmine, people like Ilhan Omar will only use the Constitution when it benefits themselves. We'll get into that later, but Bernie Sanders also said on the same podcast, saying that we're going to use what Zoran Mamdani did in New York we're going to do this all across the country. We're going to use this as a blueprint. They really want to copy and paste Zoran Mamdani because of his success in really leading the charge for this new sort of Democrat Socialist Party, which I think they're all going to start calling themselves Democrat Socialists. At some point, they're just going to unhitch from that single Democrat name to Democratic Socialist because it sounds like the latest and greatest. And I mean, who doesn't love the latest and greatest, right? But he goes on to talk about that he wants what he wants to reach, essentially. He wants to reach the people that can't get by, right? That it's eating away at the faith that people have in our institutions, deal with the rampant corruption. Then he goes on talking about the affordability crisis, which this is going to be the new term going into 2026, 2028, affordability. Let's let this 4 years play out and see where we lie at the end of it. We got to wait for the gratification that will come at the expense of a delay, a little bit of a delay where we are temporarily uncomfortable because of the measures that are being taken to remove things like what was meant to be affordable under the democratic regimes, where they wanted to make certain items affordable, like healthcare. But what happens? They begin to make a profit out of it, and they line their own pockets while they cheap out the American people. And this is their tactic. They're going to steal from the Republican sort of talking points. I guess not even Republican talking points. They're going to try to use this as leverage to gain back the trust of the American people when really we saw their trust was gone. Their trust was gone. And quite frankly, they're trying to bring it back. But how did we get here in the first place? We got here because of bad policies. Dead Man Lives, you say government been paying farmers for decades not to grow crops, but to keep the prices up. We're going to be looking at all this. And of course, I want the input of anybody who's a farmer who happens to listen to this show. I want to know your thoughts. Email us, freedom@equallyyokeshow.com. We're going to be going into that in a moment here. This is going to be our next topic, but I do want to set a reminder. Jerry, welcome to the podcast. Glad you're here. Dead Man Lives, you say, I listen to Democrat streamers. Half of the time, they all use the same talking points and quotes as CNN and Democrat politicians. And it's unfortunate that when they say, I'm in my own echo chamber, they can't get out of their, like they have these same phrases, these same things like bigotry, Islamophobic, xenophobic, Zionists, Christian nationalists. They continue to use these same words and they can't think of anything else to say. They just continue to use that because that's what they will resort to. They'll resort to racist, disgusting language, and they won't be able to come up with anything intelligent to say. So as we go on, we're going to go into this next clip here. I do want to remind all of us here, because this is ultimately a show that strives to help you to understand what it means to be equally yoked with Christ. And so when we look at scripture, this is very important. Very important that we look at this. This might open your eyes to something here of what scripture says. God literally has the answer to everything in his word. He says in Isaiah 10, "Woe to those who decree in iniquitous decrees, and the writers who keep writing oppression, to turn aside the needy from justice, and to rob the poor of my people of their right, that widows may be their spoil, and that they may make the fatherless their prey." We continue to have lawmakers in California. We have lawmakers in New York, lawmakers all across the nation. On both sides, this is for both aisles, not just for one side. But we have those that want to benefit themselves and line their own pockets and be filthy rich and not look out for the little guy. That is me and you. Now, if God has blessed you most certainly, and the things that you do in your business, and all the more power to you. But don't forsake the one who got you there. So as we look at this next clip, this is Trump participating in a roundtable, and usually these things don't get a lot of coverage unless Trump says something, very Islamophobic or xenophobic or something about Ilhan Omar. Then these get tremendous coverage. But here he's actually addressing what many have said in this podcast, the viewers that we have, a lot of comments that are saying and have asked the question, what about the farmers? Trump's tariffs are hurting them. But he's finally addressing the issue. I highly recommend that you listen to the whole thing, because you kind of get an insight as to really, what's going on with the farming industry. I mean, it's not going to give you the full extent, but you'll see exactly in this conversation, in this roundtable, of the heart behind, and really not only that, but the issues that have been brewing for a while. And we're only 10 months into this, 11 months, 12, a little over a year actually. No, I'm sorry. We are less than a year from this administration taking into to really implementing policies that will benefit the American economy. And not only that, when we go into 2026, we're going to start to see the big, beautiful bill play out, and to see if it really jumpstarts the economy and pushes us further. Somebody said farmers are making money by selling to cow farm, or they making product of their own and selling it in a storefront of their own. We farmer know what up. You all don't got a clue. Look, we're going to just play some clips here. And as I said before, I want to know your full thoughts, because you only got a couple of characters. If you have more to say, please email me, freedom@equallyyokedshow.com. I want to know your full thoughts concerning this. So we're going to be taking a look at this clip here, and you let me know what your thoughts are. Could this be a benefit? Or is it, as the Democrats say, a bailout? Right? They're basically saying, don't listen to these farmers. They don't know what they're talking about. This is because of Trump's trade war with China. And you're right, Jerry. When somebody screams out lies, most of everything that is said is an opinion. The word lies loses its meaning. Here we go.
I'm delighted to announce this afternoon that the United States will be taking a small portion of the hundreds of billions of dollars we receive in tariffs. We are making a lot of money from countries that took advantage of us for years. They took advantage of us like nobody's ever seen. Our deficits are way down because of tariffs. I guess because of the election, because without the election you wouldn't have tariffs. You'd be sitting here losing your shirt. But we're taking in billions. We're really taking in trillions of dollars if you think about it, Scott, because the real number is, when you think of all the money being poured into the country for new auto plants and all of the other things, AI. So what we're doing is we're taking a relatively small portion of that, and we're going to be giving and providing it to the farmers in economic assistance. And we love our farmers, and as you know, the farmers like me, because based on voting trends, you could call it voting trends or anything else, but they're great people. They're the backbone of our country. So we're going to use that money to provide $12 billion in economic assistance to American farmers. $12 billion is a lot of money, Merrill. What do you think?
Now, it's $12 billion. There's apparently $1 billion that is being withheld. It says here $1 billion that be held back temporarily to provide to those farmers whose financial situations the administration is still assessing. But God bless you for the thumbs up and the 10 jewels. I appreciate that. This is, somebody said, I thought every American was going to get $2,000. Yes. So they're talking about a dividend check that will be coming in during the tax season. Now, some are questioning how is this going to be implemented in this manner because of what the Supreme Court, I believe it's the Supreme Court, the ruling with this, where Scott Bessent says that they can basically recreate this sort of dividend check in order to get the Americans paid out. Now, I'm not sure exactly how that's going to happen. All this stuff, that's if the Supreme Court doesn't rule in their favor. I want to say, if I'm not mistaken on that, but otherwise that $2,000 check as of right now is still on its way. Now, quite frankly, I think that $2,000 check, of course, it could benefit all of us, most certainly. And it's under a certain wage group. However, truthfully, I think that would be it would be a benefit to just go straight back into the economy. Because as many have been criticizing the administration for saying, well, look, the Trump administration apparently has all these billions or trillions of dollars coming into the country, and it's only just money that is it might be invested. But really, it's actively already being invested. And there are, of course, pledges. This is all business. People are saying and criticizing, and I understand. Criticize all you need to. And so he's announcing this $12 billion for farmers specifically because of what happened under the Biden administration. Now we're going to take a look at another clip concerning the farms that were closed really under Joe Biden. Now we're going to be looking at that in a moment. I need to pull that clip up for you. Here we go. And this really, again, the types of things that happened under Joe Biden and what we saw with the farm industry and the strange instances, which we don't have to get into on this podcast, but these strange, crop failures, the animals dying in just weird, strange ways, just dropping dead under the Biden administration. Something was going awry here. Okay, not to speculate or anything like that, but it was all falling apart. Now here we go. This is the farms. How many farms actually had closed under the Biden administration?
During those terrible COVID times, farm production didn't go down. Like these farmers, they went to work every day and they produced so much. But then Joe Biden came in, so we had COVID. And farm production didn't go down. And then Joe Biden came in and he really wrecked the farm economy. And so during Biden's term, 150,000 farms closed, sir. 150,000 farms closed after we went through COVID and we didn't have a problem. Now, why did we do it? Why were we able to do that? I'm going fast. The first is that, the expenses for farms fell 5% while we were here because of all the things that we did, expensing and everything else. But under Joe Biden, they went up 13% because of all the regulations, energy, everything else. But the thing that really jumped out at me the most is because you had high growth and low inflation. Interest expense for the farm economy fell $120 million per year while you were there in the White House. But under Joe Biden, it increased by $8 billion per year. And so you wonder why it is that we need this $11 billion, maybe $12 billion to build a bridge loan to America's farmers. It's because we know how to fix it, but there really was a hole that was dug in the previous administration. Thank you.
Now, I think there needs to be a little bit of grace when it comes to the Trump administration. They're having to pick up the slack where the Biden administration honestly couldn't really make any good policies. Now, some are going to argue against that and say, well, no, they had really good policies. And of course, I would like to have that discussion. If you would want to email me, freedom@equallyyokeshow.com. Are there any farmers in this show that watch this, so that listen to this show, that have heard about this news, or, maybe want to ask want to ask you if there's any downside, what you think that might be downside to this? Now, of course, this is a sort of aid package where they can apply for this. And how, the details of this, I really don't know. This is just sort of breaking news as of today, and we need to see exactly what comes out of this, as they want to look into helping American farmers. And of course, that brings us to our show sponsor, which is Good Ranchers. And I want to play that for you just in this moment. In the midst of everything that's going on in the world, I love when I can come home and gather around the dinner table and enjoy a nice meal with my family. Let me tell you about Good Ranchers. I'm excited because holidays are around the corner and I get to share our home-cooked meals with my family and friends. That's classic American burgers, sirloin steaks, spicy chipotle chicken. But I wasn't always this excited. I used to think grocery store meat labeled product of the USA meant American-raised meat. Until I found out that over 85% of grass-fed beef sold in America is imported. Good Ranchers is meat I can trust. It's 100% American, and all their cuts come from local farms and ranches. Subscribe today and get $40 off, plus free meat for life. Use promo code Equally Yoked. Go to goodranchers.com, promo code Equally Yoked. Look, my wife turned to me and she said, I'm sorry, honey, but we can't go anywhere else. We've got to stick to Good Ranchers. And I said, you know what? You're right. Go to goodranchers.com, promo code Equally Yoked. Let's get back to the podcast. You guys heard it. Promo code Equally Yoked. Get your extra discount at checkout. And guys, their steak is actually pretty fire. Really good, really well cut steak. And it was fire when me and my wife partook of that. One of their boxes, the home cooked meal boxes. Excellent. Comes with a variety of meats, and I highly recommend that you do that. So, guys, I want to know your final thoughts. Email me that on based on what we've seen here regarding the farmers. Now, we've got a lot of stuff to cover, and we are going to go through some of the latest shenanigans with Ilhan Omar. Of course, what she's been saying concerning Stephen Miller, and what she's been saying with regards to really everything that is going on with Minnesota and the state that she's representing as a congresswoman for the fraud county. I mean, Minnesota County. So as we look into that, let's see what Stephen Miller says. And she actually has a response to Stephen Miller. And so she is just a piece of work. I'll say that much. But otherwise, let's see what Stephen Miller has to say. And then we're going to look at Ilhan Omar's response. And at this point, I think she's fallen apart. I think she's trying to pick up the pieces. She's blaming others. She's deflecting from the real problem. And we'll see that right before your very eyes. You'll see that right now.
What we have found so far, we believe that the Somali fraud operation in Minnesota is the single greatest theft of taxpayer dollars through welfare fraud in American history. We believe that we have only scratched the very top of the surface of how deep this goes. And you're familiar with all the scams with pretending that children have autism who are not in fact autistic, with pretending to enroll people in food programs when in fact nobody was ever enrolled, and engaging in massive fraud, lying, and theft and grift on a scale we've never seen before in American history. The total bill, the total tab for this is going to be far beyond the numbers we've already seen reported. We believe the state government is fully complicit in this scheme. And we believe that what we are going to uncover is going to shock the American people. Look, based on the records that we already have, and this is a significant undercount, by the way, 75% of the Somali population in Minnesota is on welfare. But that's likely a significant undercount of just how much of a financial burden the Somali refugee population is imposing on this country.
Now, this is from the Sean Hannity episode. Now, however, what Stephen Miller is saying is correct here, and there has been some tremendous fraud going on, and it's all being uncovered. Now, they're saying up to $8 billion in fraud, and this is actually quite a huge number from $1 billion that they they have found thus far, the $1 billion in fraud. And so we're going to look at what Ilhan Omar has to say about this, because she has some words for Stephen Miller, the so-called Nazi, as she calls him. We're going to look at what she says here in this clip. Here we go.
I want to ask you about something else that the architect of the president's immigration policy, Stephen Miller, said. On Thanksgiving Day, he posted, "No magic transformation occurs when failed states cross borders. At scale, migrants and their descendants recreate the conditions and terrors of their broken homelands." What do you make of this argument of failure to assimilate and sort of ruining America? How do you understand this?
I mean, when I think about Stephen Miller and his white supremacist rhetoric, it reminds me of the way the Nazis described Jewish people in Germany.
Look, she immediately goes to white supremacist. This is what she does. This is exactly what she does. She just has to go to name calling. She has to resort to this type of language because this is going to, I don't know what she thinks is going to give her some type of credit to her base of followers that actually like who she is and like how her policies are, like what she says and how she represents. And we're going to look at a video in a moment as to, her net worth had increased, 42,000% according to the numbers that we see from her income, from 65,000 to now $6 to $30 million in net worth. God bless you, Relearning Rights, for your jewels. I applaud you for that. God bless you. And she's going to blame the FBI. Somebody said, "Hey, we're in Minneapolis. You're in Minneapolis. So what's happening in Minneapolis? I want to know your thoughts on this fraud that is happening, this fraud that is being uncovered. For those that are living in Minneapolis, I want to know exactly, if you're Somalian or if you are an American that is witnessing this stuff. Right, 2019, she went from a $60,000 salary, very average, to 2025. How do you being a congresswoman, your base salary is $174,000. So how do you get to $30 million? Like, how do you make that? How does that add up? How do you get to, you get what I'm trying to say? Not really. It's crazy. I'm at a loss for words. So she begins to blame the FBI, right? And we're going to look at some comments from Tom Homan in a moment as well. But otherwise, let's see what she says here concerning the FBI. And really, she's being pressed, and she's been pressed on many interviews that she's doing. She's really got to do damage control here because this is a state that she represents. So here we go. This is her making a statement. She really can't walk it back. And you're saying the word you were looking for is perplexed. Yes, you're absolutely right. And I couldn't even find that word. I was just trying to figure out what the heck to even say concerning this situation. But obviously, You came in clutch. Thank you so much.
House Republicans and the Treasury Secretary just now talked about a link to terrorism, a possible link. He said they're just now beginning to look into it. How confident are you that that's a false claim?
I'm pretty confident at the
She had to think about that for a moment. She had to think about that. She's perplexed. Maybe she's perplexed as well.
moment, because there are people who have been prosecuted and who have been sentenced.
And she's going to say basically, well, they've been prosecuted, they've been sentenced. Let's leave this alone. Let's walk away, and that's it. Okay? There's no more fraud going on. Nothing to see here. Let's just move on with our lives and stop looking into Somalis because you're racist, bigoted, Islamophobic, xenophobic, all of the above. Check mark the box.
If there was a linkage in that the money that they had stolen going to terrorism, then that is a failure of the FBI and our court system in not figuring that out.
But why is that funny? Why is she smiling? Like that smirk on her face, that snarky smirk that is like, it's a failure of our government, so we're going to take advantage and we're going to allow the Somalians to do it. Now, apparently this has been going on since 2022, the investigations that have been going through and as they're looking to this, but otherwise the Biden administration, they didn't do anything about it. Now, one thing, they didn't question it. They just turned the other way and they said, you know what, if it gets us the votes, we're going to let it continue on. And unfortunately, my camera died. All right, man. We're going to continue on here. Don't worry about the camera. We're going to continue on with this last clip, and then I will join you in on the next podcast. But let's finish this clip here.
Basically, charging them with these charges. And so I do know that for many years, this sort of like alarm that there is money being transferred through the airport in bags and going to terrorism has.
Okay, that's not necessarily, that is, okay, sure. As if that's what's happening. We're just taking, they're just taking big monies and sending them out to terrorists. There's other ways that money can get funneled through. But otherwise, guys, this has been interesting. As we're looking at all of this stuff, now, I'm sorry that my camera died. I can't have my talking head here. Otherwise, you guys are just joining in the podcast. Thank you for being here. I want to know your thoughts on all of the stuff that we covered. We have so much stuff to cover. We really do. A lot of stuff, a lot of claims that Ilhan Omar is making, and what Tom Homan is considering doing is by looking into her marriage, but not only hers, but many others. But also talking about the Constitution, because Ilhan Omar, like the other Democrats that we'd talked about earlier at the top of the show, think they know the Constitution, but I don't think they read it not one bit. Because of the way they continue to communicate and talk to their base and talk to the left, they are continuing to spill the dangerous. Now, their words are actually dangerous. Their words put action into these violent criminals who want to, as many have said on this podcast, they can't wait to see me on the street. Right? They hope they see me on the street. They say, protect your neck. They say crazy things like this because if they don't agree with you, they're willing to make sure that you stay silent forever. Dead Man Lives, you say native-born Americans, no dual citizenship. Yeah, you need to absolutely renounce. Because why? We what is the Pledge of Allegiance? We pledge our allegiance to the American flag, not to the Somalian flag, not to the Minnesota flag that is now looking like a Somalian flag. I mean, honestly, Tim Walz and what he's doing, how does he still manage? I mean, we'll look at this clip in the next podcast when he's talking about Trump and his MRI, that we need to see his MRI, but clearly that MRI was released and that MRI was His health is flawless, at least at his age. Excellent health. Guys, Tim Walz is 100% a traitor. Yeah, I agree with you. The Maine flag? I hadn't even seen the Maine flag. What is the Maine flag? It's so funny. There's been some, I don't know. I'm not sure if they're Somalian or what nationality, but they're saying, yeah, it was too cold in Maine. The houses that they provided for us, it's just terrible. Complaining. Okay. Guys, thanks for being on this podcast. Look, join me on the next podcast. I want to say tomorrow. Don't hold me to it. But otherwise, thanks for being here. It's been great. Email me your final thoughts, freedom@equallyyokeshow.com. And I'll see you guys in the next show. God bless you.